Hey teachers and assistants, so on this last video we're going to take a look at a virtual big experience. Now I did something a little bit different. This isn't going to be live, this is going to be a recorded big experience, and you may do that sometimes depending on what it is. So I took a look at the Big Day Teacher's Guide, discovered what I needed to do, and recorded something so that the students would still be able to participate and engage, and we would still be able to hit the concepts of this particular big experience. So again, look at this from a coaching lens, and we will debrief after we watch the video. Thanks so much. Good morning, boys and girls. We are going to get started with our first big experience of the day, and this morning for our first big experience we are going to read a new story. But before we get to that new story, I want to see if you can remember. Do you remember in Bear's Busy Family when they talked about the feast? Do you remember talking about a feast? A feast is a really big fancy dinner where you may eat lots of food, so much food that your tummy will hurt. Thanksgiving is coming up and you may be going to a Thanksgiving feast. Well, in the new story we're about to read, we're going to hear about another kind of feast because the name of this story is Feast for 10. Now, in this story about the feast, you're going to hear about greens. Some of you guys might like to eat greens. Those are leafy vegetables. Think about like lettuce or cabbage if you guys eat anything like that. We're going to hear about ripe tomatoes. When it's ripe, it's really juicy. A ripe tomato is really red and just ready to pick off the vine and eat. And we're going to hear about plump potatoes. And if something's plump, it's big and fat and juicy. So those are some of the words that we're going to talk about. But before we read the book, I want to play a little game to see if you know your fruits and vegetables. So I'm going to go to a feast. And at my feast, I'm going to bring something that is, let's see, it's long and thin and it's orange and it's got something green at the top and rabbits like to eat. Anybody know what? Carrots. Yeah, carrots. So, okay. So I'm going to bring carrots to the feast, and then I'm going to bring something else. Let's see. I'm going to go to a feast and I'm going to bring something. They're really small and sometimes they're purple or they can be green and they're really juicy and they all go together on a vine. They're called grapes. Yeah, grapes. So I'm going to bring grapes to my feast. But we're going to get started here with our story called Feast for 10. So you see several people there on the page, and this is written and illustrated by Catherine Falwell. So follow along as we read Feast for 10. One cart into the grocery store. So it looks like they're going to go shopping. 2 pumpkins for pie. Look, those are pretty small pumpkins. 3 chickens to fry. 4 children off to look for more. 5 kinds of beans. Look at all the different, they even got jelly beans there. 6 bunches of greens. They're those big leafy vegetables I talked about. 7 dill pickles stuffed in a jar. 8 ripe tomatoes. See how nice and juicy and red they are, how good they look. 9 plump, there's those big old fat potatoes. 10 hands help to load the car. So that was Feast for 10. You guys did such a good job listening and following along with our story. Now, anytime I get ready to go shopping, whether it's for a feast for my family or just for us to have groceries, in my family we use a grocery list. And a grocery list helps us figure out what it is we need to buy when we go to the store. Let's say I need 2 of these for something for dinner. Anybody know what these are? These are onions. So if I needed 2 onions for dinner, I would write 2 onions on my list. That way I remember what to get and how many I need to get at the grocery store. Remember those plump potatoes? Count and see how many I have here. There's 1, 2, 3 plump potatoes. And so when I know I need 3 potatoes, I'm going to write it on my list. Now, see if you can tell me what here is on my shopping list. Can anyone tell what that is? Those are carrots. That's right. We talked about those a few minutes ago. And count with me as I touch the carrots so we can see how many carrots we have. 1, 2, 3. How many carrots? 3 carrots. That's right. And if you look here, it says, I need to buy 3 carrots. So that's going to be my list. I've got another list here. It says, I need to buy 2 apples. But there's nothing here, so what do I need to do next? I need to draw my apples. How many apples am I going to draw? It says, I need to buy 2 apples. So I'm going to draw 2 apples. And while I draw my apples, I want you to get your crayons or your markers and your paper out, and I want you to make something for our shopping list. You can draw how many you want. I want you to pick 1 fruit or 1 vegetable, or it could be any food that you want. And then we're going to share ours to see if we can tell what it is you need and how many it is that you need to buy. So let's work for a few minutes and we'll come back together. All right, get to work.